Two very fun events to talk about today. Yes, Wonderland, which saw new champions and new challengers, and we have to unpack the craziness that was the Wrestle Universe members-only show. We'll also preview Suzume's homecoming, take note of a few upcoming excursions, sift through some show announcements, and wish Wakana Uehara a very happy birthday. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. Hello to all you big children out there. Konnichiwa and welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose of everything TJPW. I'm your host Andy Zyke, and we've got a wonderful show on tap for you today. I hope all of you are doing well. I'm okay. My dog has been a little bit sick for the past week, and that's been a little bit rough, but hopefully she's turning a corner today, so fingers crossed. If you are a pet person, you know how it can be. They're basically family, so just keep her in your well wishes, but hopefully all will be wrapped up and she'll be back to normal within the next day or so. Beyond that, though, I'm still playing catch up from all of the wrestling shows from Las Vegas week. I actually just got a chance to watch WrestleMania itself, but there's a number of other shows like from The Collective and some other indie companies that are still on my list. I also want to go back and watch some of the shows I attended live as well, like Pandemonium Pro, Pride Style Pro, just relive some of those a bit. I always like to go back and watch the recordings of the shows that I went to live. Before we go too deep into things today, though, I want to give one quick shout out. I got an email this week from a new listener. I hope he doesn't mind me giving him this shout out, but I got an email this week from a new listener named George, and it was such a lovely email. He had such kind things to say about the show and the quality of the show and the preparation that goes into the show. I'm not going to go into like all the specifics of it, but I just wanted to say thank you to George for your support, for your kind words. I really do love hearing from you guys. I know I met a few of you in Vegas, in Texas as well, at the Texas Stampede Tour. If you ever want to write in an email, send a message on social media, please don't hesitate. I would love to chat some wrestling with you. The email you can reach us at tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. We're at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, X. By all means, shoot in a note. Tell us who your favorite TJPW wrestlers are. If you have thoughts on the latest TJPW event. If you have suggestions for the show as well, things you'd like me to talk about or cover, feel free. I'd love to hear some of the stuff you guys would like to hear on the show. Speaking of the show, on to what we're going to be talking about today. I am really, really excited about today's show. I'm getting like all nerdy and giddy over here. We have two really great events that we're going to chat about. We have the members only show, which was like such a joy, and there's so much fun that we're going to have when we talk about that. And then Yes, Wonderland, which ended up being like a really strong Korakuen Hall show, probably a little bit unexpected with just how good that show was. We've got some new champions, we've got some new challengers, we've got some new excursions as well that we're going to chat about. Couple of announcements around Summer Sun Princess and some trainees. That's always exciting. And then today we're also going to preview Suzume's homecoming show as well. Now, this event, the Suzume homecoming event, has already taken place. It took place on Wednesday of this week, but based on the Wrestle Universe upload schedule, we're not going to be able to watch it and review it until next week's podcast episode. So we'll preview it this week, review it next week. That out of the way, let's go ahead and start with some news. A handful of these news items were announced during Yes Wonderland on Monday, but there was one piece that came out shortly before, and it was an announcement for Summer Sun Princess. I believe it was like Friday of last week, something like that. TJPW teased on X that they were going to have a first-time debutee wrestling at Summer Sun Princess. And of course, with all of like the WWE releases, and in particular, Kairi Sane was kind of a hot topic on that same day, around that time. Utami Hayashishita announcing her departure from Marigold also raised some eyebrows as well. Well, it was neither of those two people. It is Shin Sakura Hirota. If you're unfamiliar with Shin Sakura Hirota, she's the one that like cosplays other Joshi wrestlers. Actually, I guess she doesn't just do Joshi wrestlers. She'll cosplay any wrestler. But Shin Sakura Hirota will be making her TJPW debut at Summer Sun Princess. Summer Sun Princess this year is on Saturday, July 18th. It will be at Corcoran Hall. We have no other information about Sakura Hirota's matchup, what she's going to be doing. I'm sure once we get an idea of who she's facing, we'll have a little bit of an idea of maybe who she's going to be cosplaying as. Not the biggest name out there that some might expect to like kick off the Summer Sun Princess announcements. I almost want to say for Grand Princess, I might be misremembering this now, but I think Sari was the first person announced for that show, or perhaps it might have been Yuka actually, now that I think about it. But either way, Shin Sakura Hirota not quite up to the same level there, but it's intriguing nonetheless. I think she's going to fit in really, really well with TJPW. Her style of wrestling or comedic wrestling is pretty much par for the course within TJPW. So I think she'll be a great fit, and I'm excited to see what she does in her TJPW debut. Now, the rest of our news this week comes courtesy of the Yes Wonderland show. So instead of kind of peppering it in as we review that show, I wanted to front load it here because there are some interesting pieces. I want to start off with some news about Trainees, and I have two pieces here. The first one is not coming out of Yes Wonderland, but I'm packaging it together here under Trainee News. Way back at Itsunyon on January 4th, we were supposed to have a tag team match where Shion Kanzaki was going to make her debut. We're also going to see a second rookie make her debut, Henri. It is alleged now that Henri is no longer with TJPW. I want to stress that there has been no announcement from TJPW about this, so this is why I say allegedly. It's coming from secondhand sources and other news outlets and whatnot. But allegedly, Henri is no longer with TJPW, and the reason people are kind of speculating about this is because Henri was recently spotted seconding Marigold events. From what I have researched and read about online with people who are a little bit more plugged in than myself, this isn't like a weird situation. This seems to happen frequently, not just for TJPW, but across all Japanese wrestling companies, Joshi wrestling companies. This is, I guess, like fairly common, and maybe you just chalk it up to like business being business. Who knows what went into this whole thing with Henri, because Henri was announced for Itsunyon, then she was pulled off Itsunyon with TJPW only saying that she wasn't ready to debut yet. So who knows if that was true, or maybe that was just their reasoning given because she was leaving. I'm not going to speculate here, but it's nice to see that Henri will hopefully be making her debut somewhere soon, even if it's not in TJPW. Someone who will be making their debut in TJPW, I don't know how soon though, will be Momo Sato. Now, we knew coming out of Grand Princess that Momo Sato, the 15-year-old idol wrestler who was a part of the Iron Man title Rumble, she announced her intentions to train with TJPW during her backstage comments at that event. Well, Momo Sato was introduced at Yes Wonderland to kick off the show, and she officially announced that she is joining TJPW as a trainee. And she's going to just kind of work her way through the dojo. No time frame put on it yet. She's still very young. She seemed to have some like raw ability as a wrestler, like just kind of picked it up pretty quickly. Just seeing her in that Grand Princess Rumble match. Of course, that match was like very different than a standard match, right? It was for the Iron Man title, but it's also worth noting that Momo Sato is the younger sister of, I think he's in DDT, Daichi Sato. So she comes from a family with wrestling experience. She grew up around wrestling, and she has a little bit of wrestling experience on her own. So exciting to see Momo Sato officially start her journey as a trainee with TJPW. Also at Yes Wonderland, we got a collaboration announcement. TJPW is going to be collaborating with the Tokyo Idol Festival later this summer on Friday, July 31st, Saturday, August 1st, and Monday, August 3rd. There's going to be a festival called the Tokyo Idol Festival. It celebrates idol culture and like other Japanese cultural elements. And TJPW announced that at this idol festival, there's going to be a wrestling area inside of the festival grounds. And we don't know any specifics yet. We don't know like how many matches or shows or what this is going to look like, but we do know that it will be called Love and Peace TIF, which is Tokyo Idol Festival, 11-piece TIF Pro Wrestling 2026. Now, not to be confused with the 11-piece festival or like wrestling event that took place in Malaysia last year that was scheduled to take place in Malaysia, I believe it was this month, later on this month in May. It is not to be confused with that. We don't know when the Malaysian 11-piece events will be rescheduled for. That is still on the back burner, but it seems like TJPW is going to be using this banner, this 11-piece banner, whenever they want to do some sort of a collab show with like mainstream idols, with idols in Japan. So really cool to see TJPW kind of stay true to their roots within idol culture. Looking forward to seeing kind of what this collaboration looks like with the Tokyo Idol Festival, and if we get any sort of additional new fans coming from this, if we get that crossover really kind of doing its part. We saw that with the Ocha Norma collab show back in November, where a lot of Ocha Norma fans turned out to watch the TJPW matches who had really never watched wrestling before, and they became new fans. So anything that we have here to grow the game, to grow TJPW, is always a good thing to see. I also want to touch on some news that we got for our next Korakuen Hall event, Standalone 2-6. This is coming up in June. It's in early June. I forgot to write the date down, but off the top of my head, I want to say it's like the 7th, something around in there, like the 4th, the 7th. It's very early on in June. We have a handful of announcements from Yes Wonderland. We know that Sumire Uesaka, who is the voice actress who won that Iron Man title at Grand Princess, she is going to be at this show as a guest commentator on Japanese commentary. Now, as far as I know, she is still the Iron Man champion, at least according to like Cage Match and Wikipedia. She still holds that belt, so maybe we'll see Mahiro get her title back here. Who knows? Also announced is that from a wrestling point of view, we will see Mirai make her return here in TJPW. We don't know who she's facing or what her match will look like yet, but nice to see Mirai continue to work with TJPW. The last time, of course, that we saw her was back at that Grand Princess show when she dropped the International Princess title to Suzume. Speaking of Suzume's International Princess title, a new challenger has come forward. This is coming out of the Suzume Homecoming show from Wednesday. So if you want to, avoid spoilers for that event, just skip ahead real quick here. But after that event, Mahirock Kiryu, who was tag teaming with Suzume in the main event, announced her intention to challenge her for the International Princess title. Like I say in the start, we have not had a chance to watch this event yet because it's not shared on Wrestle Universe, but once we do, we'll talk all about how this challenge came to be, what Mahiro said when she went for this challenge. So put that on the back burner. Just know that Suzume, her V3, will be against Mahirock Kiryu. We also will have our two other championships on the line. The Princess Tag Team titles are going to be defended. Here's another spoiler alert for Yes Wonderland. We'll get to this in a minute. Our Princess Tag Team champions, Daydream, are going to be defending against Mizuki and Uda Takami in their first defense. And then our Princess of Princess champion, Yuki Arai, in her third defense, is going to be going up against Yuki Kamifuku. Very, very exciting. We're going to talk about both of those challenges, the tag challenge and then the pop title challenge, a little bit later on when we talk Yes Wonderland. But the standalone show shaping up to be pretty good already. We got 3 pretty intriguing title matches. We've got Mirai. We've likely got something to do with the Iron Man title as well. So looking forward to this one. And then the last bit of news that I want to give is a simple birthday shout out. On Wednesday, May 13th, Wakana Uehara will be celebrating her 30th birthday. I believe there is some sort of like a live stream event that TJPW is doing to support her and kind of celebrate with her for her birthday. I also know that Wakana has been recently sharing on all of her social channels some short videos of her time, basically like vlogs, traveling into Vancouver. There's only been 2 of them so far, but I imagine they will continue into Las Vegas. She has also put up a more long-form video on YouTube about her experience at the Heart Attack Grill in Las Vegas. She did post that she is looking to grow her YouTube channel a little bit, so make sure you seek out that video, that you give Wakana a follow. Her channel name is Wakana Eats Everything, so pretty pretty on par there. But a very happy 30th birthday to Wakana Uehara on Wednesday, May 13th. Now, before we dive into our 2 show reviews today, I do want to mention the collaboration show that took place in Italy between TJPW and SAJ Wrestling. This has now been posted. You can find the link to this show on SAJ's. I found it on their X account. If you go to their bio, they have a link tree, and in their link tree, they link out to all of their shows. The shows are posted on Vimeo, and per show, they charge $5 to watch the show. So really like a steal if you want to watch, this was 2.5 hours. If you want to watch 2.5 hours of wrestling. I have not had a chance to watch this show yet. I've just been a little bit too busy. To be quite frank, I might not end up watching it. If you guys really want me to watch this and review it and talk about it, I'm happy to do it. Just let me know. But just based on the fact that there were only 4 of the TJPW wrestlers here, and it seemed to be a little bit more of like an excursion than a collab show, I might go ahead and skip it. But like I said, if you really would like to hear about it, just let me know and I can seek it out on a future show. All right, now here we go. The appetizers are out of the way. We are on to our main course, the meat and potatoes of today's show. We're going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this because I am so giddy about it. The Wrestle Universe members only event, which was titled Pre-Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling .10. This show went down on Wednesday, April 29th from the Itabashi Green Hall. It was video on demand. It's a little over 2 hours. It's like 2 hours, 15 minutes. No wrestlers absent, which is always lovely to see, especially for a special show like this. And TJPW did manage to sell out the venue. 220 people were in attendance for this one. The last time TJPW ran the Itabashi Green Hall was back in November of 2025. This was the doubleheader show where they had Team TJ and Team PW. They did a bunch of singles matches. For those 2 shows, each of those shows, they drew 190. We opened up with Fumirin giving the opening remarks and the house rules. That's right, Fumirin was in the ring, and she delivered the opening remarks and the house rules in a Kansai accent. I'm not sure the differences of what those dialects are like, but I can tell you there was some screaming, there was some like cutesy, kawaii vibes involved here. Fumirin is just like a very good performer. We know that's her background in doing her like comedic performances that she does outside of TJPW. So really cool to see Fumirin kind of flex some of her creative chops here. And then we did not get an Up Up Girls song, but instead we had a like super secret special song corner. That's what TJPW was promoting it as. It was Rise Shirai. Rise Shirai came into the ring and she sang, it was a theme song for a Super Sentai show. The crowd loved it. She seemed to love it. She's a pretty good singer as well. So a nice way to get us started, a nice kind of difference from the norm here. Our first match of this show was a singles match. Shion Kanzaki went one-on-one with Sakura Hattori. Now this was like the most normal match on the show. Mostly Sakura was in control here, but Shion was able to hit probably like roughly half of the back elbows that she normally does. At one point, Shion did a call-in response with the crowd. She was like pretending she had a microphone in the corner. I thought that was kind of cool. A little bit of personality from Shion. They actually ended up going a decent amount of time in this one before Sakura locked in that Shinden Fudorio submission hold for the victory in a little over 9 minutes and 1 second. From this point on, all rules went out the window. And our next match was a 3-way scramble that was called the Toga-kun 3-way scramble. And this match featured Toga, Rika Tatsumi, and Ren Kanatsu. The idea of this match is that Rika and Ren are fighting over who likes Toga more, but then for some reason, Toga was also included in the match. I don't know why that was the case. A little bit of color here is that Toga's gimmick and the way that people perceive Toga in TJPW is that she is the Ikemen of TJPW. So you probably know like Kuroshio Tokyo Japan. He was formerly known as Ikemen Hero in NXT. Basically, it's like this like nice, handsome looking individual, like main character energy. That's the Toga vibe that we get. Of course, she's not as like outgoing as someone like Kuroshio Tokyo Japan during his entrances, but she's this calm, cool and collected, suave, handsome individual. Almost like a Saori Ano in a way. So Ren comes out with a Toga support towel and some bread. That was used to bribe Toga at the very beginning of this, but it also ended up leading to an argument between Rika and Ren, and the two of them started out fighting while Toga just decided to eat some of this lovely bread that Ren baked. Toga eventually breaks up a cover on Ren, and that makes Rika super jealous. So Rika forces Ren to try pinning her and then asks Toga to save her as well. Each of them take turns doing some double team attacks with Toga, and then Ren just gives Toga a big old hug from behind, and apparently in this match that counts as a submission hold. Rika is there, though, to break it up with the choke. She starts choking Ren. Rika then got a little more jealous, and she put Toga in the figure 4. Ren refused to help her until Toga said that Ren was the best, and after which Toga said that, Ren then decided to reverse the figure 4. Ren and Rika go at it a little bit more, arguing over who likes Toga more. Toga steps in between. She was like, I'm over this, like enough of this. And the two of them, Ren and Rika, just demand to know who Toga is picking. They end up shoving her away because Toga's like, I'm over this. And then Toga shares like this brief little moment with Fumarine in the corner. Toga eventually bails to the outside. She's like, I've really had enough of this and I'm going home. Rika and Ren end up chasing her outside of the ring, and they disappear to the backstage momentarily. And Fumarine just remains in the ring in this funny moment and starts to count them out. They all end up reemerging. They're fighting at ringside. Rika accidentally hits Toga with a hip attack, and then she like shrieks at the top of her lungs because she hit Toga. Fumarine ends up reaching a 20 count as Ren and Rika are like clawing over each other to get back inside. Somehow, Toga managed to find her way back in for the win at 9 minutes and 50 seconds. Afterwards, Toga gave Fumarine a little bit of a pat on the head, and Fumarine was just like smitten with Toga at the end of this. Up next was a 5-way Superstar timed entry rumble. The entrants in this rumble were Mahirock, John Shino, the Ashita Taker, Shinsuke Wakanakamura, and Kira Ripley. The music was muted for this, which was like an absolute shame, but I get it. It is copyrighted music at the end of the day. First out was Kira Ripley, followed by John Shino, and both of them are like playing their parts flawlessly. Shino even wore jorts for the occasion. Almost from the start, Shino hits a 5-knuckle shuffle. She tries to go for the AA, but she can't quite lift up Kira. Kira hits a power slam, and then she does the Rhea Ripley pin where she's like holding both of the opponent's legs above their head. Out third is Mahirock, who looks exceptional. She had on a buff suit on. She hits the corner for a rock pose. Then she locks up with Shino, and they do like the WrestleMania bit. I know it from WrestleMania 18, but perhaps it was done a couple of times where Rock and Hogan look to both sides of the crowd. I thought that was a really nice touch. She then tells Shino to just bring it, but she can't quite hit the rock bottom for some reason. All of a sudden, the lights then go out because out fourth is the Ashita Taker, complete with Fumarine Bearer. I don't think more men in a single room have ever been more attracted to the Undertaker than they were today in this room. The Ashita Taker immediately takes it old school on Kira Ripley, and then we get the icing on the cake, if you will, Shinsuke Wakanakamura. What a fun name to say. And Wakana is just on another level here. She is flailing all around. She crushed it. By the time she makes it into the ring, everyone attacks her, and then she somehow is able to hit a Kinshasa on Ashita Taker. Mahirock breaks up the pin, goes for the people's elbow, but Kira stops her. Kira goes for the people's elbow, but Ashita stops her. Ashita goes for the people's elbow and misses it, and then Wakanakamura goes for the people's elbow, but she is shoved out of the ring and eliminated by Mahirock. Mahirock also tosses Kira out, but the Ashita Taker sits up in the middle of the ring, but Mahirock just tosses her out as well. So that leaves us with 2 people left. Mahirock is finally able to hit the people's elbow on Shino. She only gets a 2 count. Shino can't quite lift up Mahiro for the AA. Mahiro then slaps on a sleeper hold, and we get the best part of this match where Shino looks into the camera, smiles, and then weakly taps out in 14 minutes and 42 seconds. 10 out of 10. No notes. Wakana stole the show for a second year in a row here on this event. There's only one way to follow that insanity, and that is with an academic and athletics tag team match. On one side, we had Miyu Watanabe and Chika Nanase. On the other side, we had Arisu Endo and Haru Kazushiro. How this worked was that a one-count fall would earn you a question, a correct question answered would earn you 1 point, and the first team to 2 points wins, and allegedly, questions are at an elementary school level. Miyu grabbed a quick fall against Haru. She was asked to name the 3 separation of powers, and Miyu's response was, see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. Not quite, Miyu. Arisu was next to get a fall against Chika. She was asked some Japanese historical question. She got it wrong. Chika got her fall back, and she was also asked a Japanese history question. She got it wrong. You sense a trend here. Haru then got in a fall on Chika. Haru was asked what 1/2 plus 1/4 is, and she answered 1/6. Come on, Haru, you literally just graduated from school. Arisu gets in another fall, incorrectly answered the longest river in Japan. Miyu then got another fall and correctly, mercifully, knew that Hokkaido is the largest prefecture in Japan, so Miyu and Chika go up 1-0. Haru got another fall, but she couldn't answer another Japanese history question. Miyu grabbed yet another fall, but she couldn't answer a question about world economics. I don't think some of these were elementary level, to be totally honest with you. Haru then pinned Miyu and grabbed a point for her team by knowing that red blood cells carry oxygen throughout the body, so she evened up the score 1 apiece. Miyu quickly got the fall back, but she didn't know that 20% of 100 yen is 20. She said it was 80. And the crowd barely reacted to that one. They were in such disbelief that she got that wrong. Arisu's turn was next. She was asked the largest ocean in the world, and Arisu's answer was the Sea of Japan. Ocean isn't even in the name of the Sea of Japan. At the end of this, Arisu quickly gets 2 falls and Chika gets 1 fall. So the way that they did it, Arisu got 2 questions, then Chika got 1. Arisu was first asked for a word with the same meaning as important, and Arisu said love, which honestly feels like subjectively correct, right? They said that was wrong. Her second question was how many centimeters are in a meter, to which she answered 60 centimeters incorrectly. I live in America where we don't use centimeters and meters, and I know that the answer is 100. So then we get Chika for the steal and the win. Chika was asked how plants make nutrients, and she won the match for her team by answering photosynthesis. Arguably the biggest win of Chika's career. I simply can't believe that part of this isn't fixed. There's no way that they got the yen question or the centimeter question or the ocean question wrong. I can't buy it. If they truly didn't know the answer to that, that is alarming, especially Haru, who just graduated from high school. What are we doing, guys? Come on. Our semifinal was the Indian poker match between Miyu Yamashita, Shoko Nakajima, Hyper Misao, and Yuki Aino. The rules here were that each wrestler drew a card, and each card had a move name on it, and if the wrestler performed the move that was on their card, they were disqualified. Everybody around them knew the move that they had, but you didn't know your own move, basically. Miyu drew Northern Lights Suplex, Misao drew Hip Attack, Aino amazingly got Venus DDT, and then Shoko got 619. Shoko was effed when she drew 619. You did have the ability, there was a brief window after drawing the cards where you could kind of psych out your opponent and either convince them to trade in a card or not. So there was a brief window where you could exchange your card. Shoko decided to trade her card, so she no longer had 619. Instead, she drew Dragon Ring-In, which was Rika Tatsumi's jump from the corner when she gets introduced, her entrance ring-in, basically. A much better setup for Shoko. Shoko brought it to everyone here to start. Yamashita met her enthusiasm, but she kind of balked at kicking her in the back because she didn't know if that was her move. Aino stepped in to give her a big old hip attack, and Aino was encouraging Misao to join in, but Misao was heck with that. I know your tricks here. Kiraku Kiyome then did some tandem offense with Misao hitting a crossbody and just letting out this huge sigh of relief that was not her move. Shoko set up the 619 on both Aino and Yamashita, and she was like so happy when she learned that she was able to hit it. She climbed up to the top rope. She went to jump at Aino, but Aino ducked, which caused Shoko to jump over her, and that got her disqualified because they considered that the dragon ring-in. I guess it looked so similar to Rika's jump on her entrance. What like poetic cruelty? Like, what are the odds that Shoko draws 619, gets so lucky and exchanges it for something completely unrelated to her, and then she's the first one disqualified? Aino, Yamashita, and Misao then each had to draw 2 new cards. Misao drew Elbow Butt and Face Lock. Aino, Schoolboy and Boot. Yamashita, Spinning Kick and Crash Rabbit Heat. That one's pretty dicey. Aino ended up trading in Boot, and she got Shoulder Tackle. They start with a few quick arm locks and headlocks. Then they all tried rolling each other up, not in a schoolboy way though, just to clarify that. They each would like set up for a signature move, but then they were like too afraid to try it. That was like the majority of this match. Aino caught a little bit of momentum. She ended up hitting a double shoulder tackle on Yamashita and Misao and was disqualified. Here's where the stakes like really got spicy because Misao and Yamashita had to then draw 3 new cards. I'm not sure if the moves like stacked round to round or if when you drew new cards, if it was like a fresh start or not. But either way, I mean, 3 moves, that's a gamble, right? Misao ended up drawing Senton, Cold Spray, and Jumping Knee. Those are a rough draw for Misao. Yamashita drew La Magistral Cradle, Skull Kick, and I Am a Hero Dive. So a lot of Misao's moves, Yamashita was pretty safe there with the Skull Kick. Misao did end up changing Jumping Knee for Middle Kick, which was more of a Yamashita move. So she got a little bit luckier there. Yamashita was like fired up and immediately took Misao down with some kicks. Misao went for the spray, and then Miyu like over-exaggeratedly begged her not to use it so loud. And Misao was like, no, something's up. I'm not going to use this. And she tossed it aside. So that plan backfired for Yamashita. Misao landed a Jumping Knee. Good thing she swapped that out. And then she landed the I Am a Hero Dive for a 2 count. Yamashita hit an AA. And then she hesitated with the Skull Kick. She had a hunch there. Misao rolled her into the La Magistral for 2. And then Yamashita ends up hitting the Skull Kick. She gets disqualified to give Hyper Misao the victory. Hyper Misao, the first person to win a match by getting knocked out. In the main event, we had an 8-woman tag team match, a classic, an annual tradition, the costume change match. If you don't know how this works, each competitor comes out dressed as a different member of the roster and basically tries to like cosplay and imitate their moveset. The women that we had in the matchup were Yuki Arai, Mizuki, Yuki Kamifuku, and Raku on one team. And then on the other side, we had Suzume, Pam Harajuku, Himawari, and Uda Takami. Uda came out first for her team. She was the popping ice rabbit Mizuki. Then we saw Himawari as the rampaging flower girl Mifu Ishida. Then Pam came out as the colorful snow crystal Toga. And then finally Suzume, this one's my favorite, passion blue mustard Mahiro Kiryu. On the other team, Raku came out first. She was the Sleeping Venus, Yuki Aino. Yuki Kamifuku came out as Raku, and she was introduced as Up Girls Kako Tall, which was funny. Mizuki came as the Vivid Sugar Custard Suzume. That's a pretty good one, too. And then finally, Yuki Arai, the Genius Cheeky Chap Himawari. Now, to not confuse the hell out of you, I will just be using the actual name of the woman in the match. I'm not going to use who they are cosplaying as. Before this match got started, Arai was answering the Himawari calls, which I thought was a really nice touch, and Himawari was like a little bit jealous. Himawari and Arai start out to like big Himawari chants, which was also pretty funny. Arai tried to whip Himawari with her hair, but her hair was like too short to actually connect. Himawari then decided to cheer her on as if she was Mifu Ishida. And so she did this go, let's go Himawari chant, but then she shakes her pom-poms in Arai's face. Himawari very delicately does the guillotine leg drop, which gives Arai enough time to dodge it. Arai tries again for some hair whips, but Himawari decides to hit a few of her own. I don't remember Mifu doing that in her moveset, but maybe Himawari was just improvising. Raku tags in and hits a Poppo Chop and then a running senton. She can't quite hit Yuki Aino's twisting springboard senton, so Himawari instead tries to give her Mifu's guillotine leg choke on the apron, but Himawari's not quite flexible enough to pull it off. Raku then tags in Kamiyu in a bit of a Spider-Man meme moment there, and they're just about to do the Oyasumi Express together when Palm jumps in. Raku explains that they are not teaming together today by body slamming Palm, and then the two of them do the Oyasumi Express on top of Palm and Himawari. Kamiyu then sings a lullaby, but she throws a foot choke in there for good measure. She lands some Poppo Chops, but Himawari counters and goes for Mifu's cartwheel split leg drop. And in a really funny moment, she needed help from basically her entire team to execute the cartwheel. Himawari was not able to do that flip. Himawari then very delicately tried to go for the spinning back kick in the corner, but she was so slow with bringing her leg around that Kamiyu was able to block it and boot her in the face. Uda Takami tags in, and she certainly had down the voice octave of Mizuki. Kamiyu tried to go for Raku's smile train roll-up, but Uda managed to stop it. We then have Mizuki tag in for another Spider-Man meme moment. She quickly does the Suzume rope run and rolls Uda up. Uda kicks out, hits the Mizuki double stomp on Mizuki. Suzume tags in for yet another Spider-Man meme moment, and Mahiro's costume is just way too big on Suzume. Suzume ends up hitting some of her own offense. Mizuki tries to run the ropes, but Uda trips her from the outside, which allows Suzume to apologize for accidentally becoming Suzume. Mizuki manages to stuff Suzume's spinebuster attempt and hit her with a foot stomp. She lines her up for the ring-a-bell, but Suzume is able to anticipate it. It is her own move after all, and hit a springboard facebuster. Palm and Arai then come in. Palm hits a number of forearms, but she's a little too weak to really do any damage against Arai. She does hit a pretty good Rolling Thunder, though, and then she goes for the Lafare Harajuku. Uda tags back in and hits some Uda offense. Arai hits a few more hair whips, and Himawari was outside the ring, complaining to the referee about Arai using her hair. I thought that was kind of a nice touch. Uda stomps on Arai's foot, but continues with her Uda offense, including the Koala Clutch, and then all hell just breaks loose. Himawari comes in, starts whipping Arai with her hair. Mizuki dizzies herself doing Suzume's figure 8 dodge. Kamiyu hits a brain buster, and then she loses the sleep mask that she was wearing. It all boils down to Arai hitting a full Nelson buster on Uda, and then locking in the Scorpion Deathlock for the submission victory in 17 minutes and 30 seconds. Afterwards, Arai taunts Himawari with her hair. Himawari jumps back in the ring and just gives her a big old hair whip. Arai then takes the mic. She thanks all the Wrestle Universe members for their support. She called the full roster out to the ring for a picture, and Miyu Yamashita closes the show, saying that despite all of their recent travel abroad, she was very happy they could all come together for this show and show Tokyo Joshi-ness. I think that is the best way to put that. This type of wrestling is not going to be for everyone, but I really challenge you to watch this show and not smile once. I get that you can lose a bit without understanding the poker match or the academics athletic match, but the Toga 3-way, the Superstar Rumble, the costume change match, it's all just lovable TJPW at its finest. So a hard pivot from that show into our Corcoran Hall show, Yes Wonderland 2-6, slightly more serious. Of course, it's never going to be completely serious. This is still a TJPW show after all. On Monday, May 4th, from Corcoran Hall, this event was live on Wrestle Universe and ended up being about 3.5 hours long. We had one absent competitor, that was Mifu Ishida, who was absent simply due to scheduling conflicts. The attendance here was a full house. TJPW drew a crowd of 1,087. Not quite their Corcoran Hall attendance record of 1,500 from Itinyon, but of course, remember, that's Itinyon. This is a different level of a Corcoran Hall show. And then Corcoran Hall was also set up a little bit differently, so that's how they get the full house on 1,087 versus the 1,500, right? In a positive spin here, the last time TJPW ran Korakuen Hall was actually in February, in between these two shows, for the Max Heart Tournament Finals, where they only drew 732. So a nice increase there, about 300 or so. We did also have English commentary for this. Mr. Haku was there alongside Balian Aki, and then for the main event, they were joined by Fumarine. We opened up with Rise Shirai giving the remarks and the house rules. This was where we got the Momosato introduction. Momo gave some brief remarks saying that she will give 100% effort, aiming to debut as soon as possible. The Up Up Girls came out and sang Momentary Idol Memorial, and then Raku was the Up Up Girls member who handled the start call for the day. And then before we jumped into the matches, we actually got a really nice recap video of Grand Princess. There was some Vegas footage in there too, kind of setting everything up for the day. The opening contest was a singles match. Ren Kanatsu took on Shion Kanzaki. These two have met once before, back at that Max Heart Finals event in February, where Ren picked up the first singles victory of her career. We got a few brief submissions and mat work to start us out here before Ren really takes the early upper hand. Shion fights back with her patented back elbows, but she's not on the attack for too long. Ren hits the Kanatsu Crush, followed by the Ares Comet, and then she locked in a Rings of Saturn submission, which TJPW was calling shoulder bites, and that got her the victory in 5 minutes and 45 seconds. A solid opener, and it's cool to see Ren kind of diversifying her moveset and adding in this shoulder bites submission. Up next, we had a 6-woman tag match. The Bumping Gritters teamed up with Chika Nanase. They took on the team of Wakana Uehara, Kira Summer, and Ganbare Pro's Yuri, technically making her TJPW debut, although she was on the Ganbare Pro TJPW crossover show back in 2024. Yuri and Chika start out pretty evenly matched, kind of testing each other's strength with headlocks, shoulder tackles. The Bumping Gritters then enter, and Shino gives Wakana a tour of the nearby Tokyo Dome, and we get some Bumping Gritters tandem offense. It's a little short-lived. Kira comes in, manhandles Shino pretty easily. Then Yuri and Himawari square off, with Himawari hair-whipping Yuri. Nanase and Wakana come in and get a little bit of time, with Wakana briefly managing to lock in that banana pillow. Chika loads up for the elbow butt, and then hits a springboard elbow drop. Really nice move there. Shino eliminates Kira with a belly-to-belly. The Bumping Gritters eliminate Yuri with a double-team move. Chika tries to go for the modified Inari Tori, but Wakana manages to wiggle free, hits a snap suplex, followed by the Sushi Tornado, and pins Chika in 12 minutes and 12 seconds. After this was over, Chika was staring daggers into Wakana before she made her way out. They do this from time to time with Chika. Nothing ever really comes of it. She always shows like this fire and this frustration, but then 3-4 shows later, 3-4 weeks later, she's just back to being Chika again. I would really love them to do something with that, because I think that's a really interesting angle for Chika to play this like shades of gray tweener character between good guy, bad guy. I just think her moveset fits. I think she has the right facial expressions for it. She can act really well with it. So would love to see them do something with this with Chika, but we'll just have to wait and see. The one thing I dislike about the 6-woman tags is that one team will usually jump in at the end and eliminate the other, but then it's their teammate that gets pinned. Like, you think they'd be ready to jump back in and help their teammate since they just had the upper hand against their opponents, but it is what it is. Yuri and Chika, I thought, was the most interesting combination in this one. Yuri looked pretty good in her TJPW debut, return, whatever you want to call it. And Chika's move, the elbow drop from the ropes, that was really nice looking as well. Up next, another 6-woman tag team contest. This one, a little bit different than the previous one. On one side, we had the Love Triangle, Raku, Pam Harajuku, and Yuki Aino. They took on the wonderful team of Mizuki, Uda Takami, and Mei Saruga. Mei is making her return from Inspiration just a couple weeks ago. She was also on Wrestle Princess 6 in the fall. And Yuki Aino debuted some new gear here. We get a lot of Yuki Aino gear recently. Uda, Mei, and Mizuki try kicking at the handshakes, but Love Triangle is too smart for that. They counter into a very early Oyasumi Express. We then get what Pam Harajuku later called some traffic jam-based offense, which leads to some shin kicks. Then Aino outpowers Uda for a little bit, clubbing her way out of a koala clutch by really just swinging Uda into the corner. Uda manages a last-ditch effort, gets in a drop kick. She tags in Mei Suruga. Mei gets the better of Aino. She tries to do her tightrope walk maneuver, but Raku Palm starts shaking the ropes, and then Palm just screams in her face to knock her off the rope. Raku and Mei then have a fun back and forth with some wrestling, some posing, some sleeping. Mei's team tries triple teaming Raku, but she counters and tags in Palm. Palm hits a few arm drags and shin kicks. Then she removes her shoes for some reason. Mizuki easily takes them off of her, but Aino jumps in to kind of wrestle them back, and the shoes just go flying off into the crowd. Palm puts on a second pair of shoes to confuse Mizuki, and the love triangle then hit this nice corner dive that includes a shoulder tackle, a drop kick, and a popo chop combination. Palm ends up missing her palm to justice, and all hell breaks loose here in this one. Palm takes her shoes off again for some reason. Mizuki, again, just chucks them into the crowd. She then hits the diving foot stomp on Palm, picks up the win in 12 minutes and 50 seconds. Backstage, Mei Suruga says it's her first time tagging with Mizuki as she gets ready for her 8th anniversary. The three of them then whisper and giggle about something after they say that Uda needs to be a little bit more bold, as bold as Mei and Mizuki. I don't know what was said. It wasn't transcribed. The love triangle, they're in pretty good spirits spending the holiday together. It was Golden Week, so this was a national holiday in Japan. That's why this show was on a Monday. The love triangle were happy to spend the holiday together, and this is where Palm named her traffic jam maneuver the U-turn rush. I don't think we're going to be seeing that one again anytime soon. This match was about as zany as expected. They got in some wrestling, some comedy, some sleeping, multiple shoes for some reason. This match had a little bit of everything that you could want. It was the most TJPW-esque match of the evening. Up next was a traditional tag team contest. Yuki Kamifuku teamed up with Aja Kong, making her return from Grand Princess 2-6. On the other side, we had the lookalike duo of Mihiro Kiryu and Kakeru Sekaguchi. We just saw Kakeru a few weeks ago at the Inspiration Show. Kamiyu was super confident to start this one off. She walks up to the two opponents and says, "I can tell the difference. I've teamed with Mihiro for so long. You're not going to fool me." Kakeru starts this one out for her team, and the crowd starts chanting Mihiro, which I thought was a nice touch. Kamiyu quickly got confused, though, and Mihiro apologized that the two of them are so confusingly alike. Aja Kong tags in. Quite frankly, she didn't care who was who. She just kicked both of their butts. The lookalikes got in some brief offense once Aja missed her elbow drop, but Kamiyu was able to nail Kakeru with a very nice delayed brainbuster. Kamiyu and Mihiro go back and forth, trading the advantage in the matchup. Kamiyu gets in an octopus stretch and hits her springboard big boot. Mihiro, though, on the other side, able to land a spine buster. The lookalikes do their do-si-do. They try to confuse Aja. She just slaps both of them in the face and then hits a backdrop driver on Kakeru. But Kakeru was not the legal woman. Mihiro then jumped back in, tried for another spine buster. Kamiyu, though, able to connect with a jumping front leg drop, a drop kick, and then the famouser to win this one in 9 minutes and 41 seconds. Backstage, Kamiyu called her opponents normies, and Aja Kong points out that, hey, Yuki, you did actually get confused at one point. So Aja wasn't too happy about that, but they end up promoting Aja's upcoming anniversary show, which has Kamiyu on it. Of course, it has Aja Kong. Kakeru is also a part of that. But Aja said she didn't invite Mihiro because Mihiro does not currently have the Iron Man title. So once Mihiro gets her Iron Man title back, she might consider inviting Mihiro. But until then, no dice. Brief comments from Mihiro and Kakeru. They just apologized to one another for losing the matchup. One of the shorter matches of the evening, but they effectively told the story they were going for, and they managed to promote Aja's 40th anniversary as well. Up next, we had a really juicy singles matchup. Toga went head-to-head with Aniki Ryo Mizunami. Ryo making her return from that February show at Corcoran Hall, the Max Heart Finals. These two immediately start with some stiff shoulder tackles, which Ryo gets the better of. Toga tries to forearm her way back, but Ryu puts her in a really tight headlock, and we are all Aniki in the early going of this one. Toga doesn't back down from some chops, though. She asks Aniki to give her more, and, well, she gets them in the form of the machine gun chops in the corner. Toga found a little bit of an opening, body slammed Ryo, then hit her with the Rolling Thunder. She slapped on a headlock of her own. Some forearms are countered into an STO and a leg drop from Ryo. She slaps on a shoulder lock and then hits a really hard lariat. Toga continues to fight back with some strong forearms, but Ryo, meeting her blow for blow, she challenges Toga, who rises again and lands 2 stiff lariats. Toga's chest at this point was like a tomato. It was so beet red. Toga tried for the absolute zero, but it gets stuffed by a headbutt and lariat combination. Ryo then hits one more lariat and lands the spear in 9 minutes and 48 seconds for the win. Backstage, Ryo challenges Toga to stop depending on opponents or audiences and instead just begin to carve out her own path. She said that Toga's future is a matter of whether she acts now. Toga tearfully said that the gap between her and Ryo is still pretty large, despite thinking that she had made some progress since the last time they met. That said, really good showing for Toga here despite the loss. It was always a long shot for her to beat Aniki in this one, but between the International Princess title match against Mirai, the overseas tour that she had, Vancouver dates and Vegas dates, Toga's year is off to a very strong start. We then had one more undercard match before we got to our 3 championship bouts. Another traditional tag match. Kiraku Kiyome, Hyper Misao, and Shoko Nakajima teamed up with the reunited Kick Slash. Kick Slash together for the first time since the end of February, of course, prior to Kaya Toribami turning in to Sakura Hattori. Before this match gets started, Misao gives her pre-match mic performance. She kept it simple. She said she's been waiting for this match to face Sakura. And they start together, matching each other pretty evenly. Sakura hits one of her poses. Misao answered with her superhero pose. I thought that was a nice bit. Sakura attempted to trade forearms, but Misao just decided to cold spray her instead. Yamashita comes in to rip that cold spray away. She starts yelling at Fumarine, and while Fumarine is disposing of the cold spray, Misao somehow found a second one, sprayed Yamashita with it. Kiraku Kiyome then go to town on Sakura, probably like the most beating I've seen Sakura take yet. Yamashita tags in, suffers a similar fate. At one point, Shoko had her in a tarantula lock in the ropes, and Misao clubbed her with a jumping knee. I thought that was a really nice tandem offensive move. Kick Slash tried to hit some tandem offense of their own, but looked a little bit rough, like the two of them maybe were rusty, not having tagged together for a while. They do briefly gain the upper hand, though, but Kiraku Kiyome right back on it with Shoko just rocketing outside onto Sakura with a tope. Back in the ring, Sakura cartwheel dodges an attack, and Kick Slash start working together a little bit more fluidly than the first time, with a number of strikes here. Sakura hits her Rakataicho onto Shoko. She then goes for a Sento, but Misao breaks it up, and Shoko then hits a 619 to Sakura's knee. But that was another nice bit there. The Northern Lights is stuffed by Sakura. The Shinden is stuffed by Shoko. Sakura tries to get that crazy roll-up pin that she does, but Shoko ends up rolling through it, and she gets the win for Kiraku Kiyome in 11 minutes and 11 seconds. Backstage, Kiraku Kiyome asked who that mystery competitor was because they were traveling overseas for so long they had no idea who she was. Did they not realize that Sakura was with them on the overseas tour? I don't really know what they were going for there. Kick Slash gives some comments as well. They agree that they do want to continue teaming up, but that they are going to rebrand soon, and Sakura is taking on the task of coming up with a new name, one that better fits them now that she has changed characters. I think Sakura continues to impress in this new role. I think she's primed to have a big run in the Tokyo Princess Cup later this year. It's also really nice to see Kick Slash, or whatever they're going to be named in the future, want to continue teaming together. I thought they had so much momentum before Sakura's character shift, and it's really nice to see them going back to that well. Our first of 3 title matches was for the International Princess title. Suzume, in her second defense, went one-on-one with Haru Kazushiro. These two have met 4 times before, all victories to Suzume. We did also have a preview tag for this matchup in which Suzume pinned Haru. They start out feeling each other out. The first to gain the upper hand is surprisingly Haru, with some fast-paced offense and targeting of the arm. Suzume manages to swing the tide, doing some limb work of her own, hitting an early step-up facebuster. They proceed to trade offense a little bit more, with Haru trying to lock in that Izuyoi submission, and then desperately working over Suzume's arm. Suzume tried for a plancha to the outside, but she couldn't quite pull herself over the ropes because her arm was very weak. I thought that was a nice touch. She was really grabbing at it for most of this match. Haru blocked a facebuster to the floor and instead hit a crossbody to the outside. Back in the ring, they do that joint springboard move with Suzume coming out of it, landing a facebuster. Haru gets in a quick roll-up and then won't let go of Suzume's arm. Suzume kicks her to her knees and then hits a basement ring-a-bell. She goes for a second ring-a-bell, but Haru counters it into a fisherman's suplex for a really close near fall. She manages to lock in that Izuyoi. Suzume, though, wiggles her way to the ropes to break out of it. Haru then misses a crossbody, allowing Suzume to hit 4 facebusters in a row, back to back to back to back. She counters a fisherman's suplex into a gory bomb, and then she tightrope walks her way to yet another facebuster, and that sets up the ring-a-bell, giving Suzume her V2 in 12 minutes and 55 seconds. Afterwards, it's all smiles as the two shake hands. Backstage, Haru says that she struggled with confidence throughout her career, but that she thought she was able to enjoy herself in this match and really give it her all. Suzume agrees the match was very fun and believes that they can create better matches together in the future. She also said she is very excited to bring the title to her homecoming show later this week. Haru really stepped up to the plate here in her first singles title challenge. I really liked the story they were going for with Haru attacking the arm. Suzume did a great job selling the effects of that throughout the match. These two work really well together. I don't know how many times they've faced each other 4 times, but I don't know how many times since then, because all 4 of those matches were back in 2023, the year that Haru debuted. I'm not sure how many times they've had to kind of mix it up together in the dojo, but it seems like they have. I thought their chemistry was really great. They seemed to work really well. Their styles meshed really well with one another, so definitely more to come from Haru for sure. In our semi-final, the Princess Tag titles were on the line. The Inspiration in their second defense went up against Daydream, Miyu Watanabe, and Rika Tatsumi. We had some new gear in this matchup. Rika debuted some new gear, and also the Inspiration wearing some snakeskin pants. That was an interesting look, but new gear nonetheless. The Inspiration also got some streamers, and they were excited for it at first, but then they kind of played it up like they hated them. Daydream did end up bringing the dolls from the press conference. They presented those to the Inspiration, and they got a lot of disgust from Cassie and Jessie. As the match gets started, the Inspiration started with a number of double team moves and some cheating. They were also tagging in and out very quickly in the early portions of this match. I think that's their bread and butter. They're very good about controlling a match in that way. Most of the damage was done against Watanabe, who eventually managed to outpower Cassie. Rika and Jessie then have an exchange with Rika mostly in control of that. She manages to fend off a number of double team attacks. Watanabe tags back in. She's able to giant swing Cassie. She can't quite get the Canadian backbreaker because Cassie landed a variation of a Blue Thunder Bomb. Rika breaks up that pin though. She ends up choking both members of the Inspiration. They try to hit the Idolizer in return, but Miyu is there to stop that, and instead we get stereo backbreakers from Daydream and a tandem hip drop. Cassie fights out of a teardrop attempt. Miyu then attempts an avalanche teardrop, but that's broken up by Jessie. The Inspiration try to get the Idolizer in on Miyu, but she blocks it just with her pure strength alone. Rika comes in with a missile hip on Jessie, and then Daydream connect with the Daydream Eternity on Cassie in 12 minutes and 53 seconds to win their second Princess Tag Team Championships. After the match, Daydream take the mic and say the Inspiration were tough and that they are welcome back to TJPW anytime they please. They also say that they want to set the defense record, and right on cue, their first defense arrives, Mizuki and Uda Takami. Rika says that she doesn't approve of their tag team, but Mizuki says, you know what, I'm living in the present, and I'm going to steal the Princess Tag titles, and I'm also going to steal Rika Tatsumi's heart. If you are unfamiliar with the lore, ever since Rika Tatsumi debuted, she has had a massive crush on Mizuki. It is not reciprocated at all. Mizuki just kind of accepts it and toys with Rika quite often, but that is just kind of this underlying thread between the two of them. Backstage, Daydream again say that they want to set the defense record, and Rika says that she wants to make many, many more dreams come true. Mizuki and Uda gave some comments. They said that they decided to challenge together, and that Mizuki says that she has many thoughts, many anxieties about this belts, Daydream, tag teams in general. Like, can you blame her? I mean, Rika's involved here. Her former tag partner, Yuka, is graduated from the company. Mizuki, a former 3-time tag team champion. I'm sure there's a lot of thoughts kind of baked into all of the above. But that said, she says it's Uda's joy that makes her want to live in the present and challenge alongside Uda. The Inspiration gave some comments as well. They claim to be dehydrated from their 18-hour flight. They really don't appreciate that Rika tossed her backside right into their faces, and they felt that getting pelted with streamers is a workplace violation, so they said they were certainly going to be having some conversations about that. They were asked if they would consider coming back, and they said, we will consider it as long as there are some strict stipulations put in place, like water bottles for everybody, which I'm pretty sure are at ringside all the time. No streamers, which good luck with that one. And then they also want to pre-approve a list of their opponent's maneuvers. It seems like cheating a little bit. I didn't dislike the Inspiration as champions as much as some other people did, but that said, I am happy to see Daydream with the belts again. Both of them are such different competitors from the last time they won the tag titles. I thought the Inspiration did a fine job in TJPW. They answered the call that was put before them. They put on some pretty decent matchups. Booking in other companies aside, it was a nice little cameo. I think it got TJPW a little bit more recognition, especially for that Grand Princess show. And they had some AEW talent on their 3 of their shows. I guess 4 of their shows if you count the Texas tour. So it has to be a win-win overall. In our main event, the Princess of Princess title was on the line. Yuki Arai, in her second defense, went one-on-one with Arisu Endo. These two have met 5 times before. 4 wins for Arai, 1 win for Arisu. That Arisu win just recently in the Tokyo Princess Cup semifinals. These two were a part of the same preview tag that the International Princess Championship had, but neither of these two competitors were involved in the pinfall, but Arai was on the team with Suzume, so she has a slight edge here, 1-0. It was at this point that Fumarine joined commentary, but unfortunately she didn't really say much. I would love to see Fumarine join commentary more often. I think she can be, 1, she's very entertaining, we know that, but 2, well, I guess 2, her English is great, we also know that. 3, my third point here, I think she can be very insightful. Like, she's a referee, she has kind of this inside track of the competitors, the matches, the match constructions. Would love to see her get more involved in commentary more often, do more English work for TJPW. I think that's like a good asset for them to have, and they might not be utilizing her to the fullest extent that they could. That aside, this matchup here, we started out trading arm locks, then we got a big lockup, and these two execute some chain wrestling. Arisu, the first to gain the upper hand with a couple of power slams. They continue trading offense with some headlocks. Arai counters one by tossing Arisu out of the ring completely. Then she hits a really nice looking running big boot from the apron. Arai continues the attack with some boots and some knees. She begins working over the legs of Arisu, eventually locking in her Indian Deathlock. Arisu fights her way back with a running neck breaker, a knee to the back, and then her diving axe handle. They square up face to face again, with Arai knocking Arisu back with a scissors kick. She can't quite get in the scorpion lock though. Arisu wiggles out and lands a drop kick in the corner, but her legs are too hurt to really connect with it. Arisu then gets in the camel clutch briefly, but Arai falls back into a pin attempt, and then Arai is able to get that scorpion lock locked in. Arisu's in that for quite a while. She does manage to reach the ropes. She then deadweights a full Nelson Buster attempt. The two meet face to face up on the top rope, where Arisu hits an avalanche water wheel suplex. They trade more boots and drop kicks. Arisu quickly changes it up, hits another water wheel suplex, and then just stands over Arai, very confident. She hoists Arai up for the Juno Okite, but Arai grabs the ropes to stop that. Arai ends up dragging Arisu back up to the top rope again. She hits an avalanche full Nelson Buster. Arisu, barely getting her shoulder up after that one. Again, they meet face to face, this time on their knees. They have a forearm exchange while holding hands. Arai hits 9 boots to the face of Arisu but Arisu will not let go of Arai's hand. Arai tries whipping her into the ropes, but Arisu can barely stand at this point. She falls short of the ropes. Arisu somehow manages to counter a brainbuster, and the two of them collapse again. Arisu dodges the finally. She hits 3 thrust kicks of her own, then she locks in the camel clutch one more time. Arai tries to roll into a pin again, but Arisu anticipates it this time and rolls into a very tight small package, which Arai just barely escaped from. She tries for the Juno Okite, but Arai lands on her feet, hits a finally to the back of the head, then she connects with a Shining Wizard and another finally to put Arisu away in 20 minutes and 38 seconds. Afterwards, Arisu is in tears. She normally is after matches like this, but the two of them hug and smile with one another. Arai takes the mic and says Arisu always calls her the protagonist. We've seen that in the build-up to this. We saw it at the press conference. Arai says that Arisu even calls her that in private as well. But in her eyes, Arisu is also a protagonist, and she does many things that Arai cannot do herself. She wants to meet again, both in the ring and out, hundreds of times. She says that it is because of Arisu that she was able to make it 5 years in wrestling, and she asks Arisu to continue being her best friend. They share one more fist bump together, and then Arisu makes her exit to really loud Arisu chants. Arai has some more words to say. She reflects on her debut 5 years ago, which was in front of 0 fans due to the COVID pandemic, and she feels the time has just flown by so quickly. She wants to defend the belt against any and all comers. Right on cue, Yuki Kamifuku appears, and she says that after losing the Princess Tag titles, she realized just what she was working so hard for in TJPW. And that's anti-aging. I bet you thought it was the Princess of Princess title. It's not the Princess of Princess title. It's anti-aging. She says she doesn't care much for titles, and in fact, she hates singles matches, but she does feel her most beautiful when she has a goal and when she accomplishes that goal. So she lays down her challenge for that Princess of Princess belt. Arai didn't know what to do with this. She was so caught off guard that Kamiyu said anti-aging, but she does eventually accept, and they take a picture because, as Kamifuku says, today is the youngest you will ever be. Very deep, very kind of sad. We get some backstage comments as well. Arai said that she was so happy to face Arisu on her 5th anniversary. She's also really happy that Kamiyu challenged her. She said that she is unfamiliar with anti-aging, but that she's going to look it up and maybe she'll buy some supplements on her way home. Kamiyu says that she feels the prettiest while under pressure, and she decided to challenge because she isn't getting any younger. She's lost to Arai in tournaments, for the IP title, for the Princess Tag titles, although for that one, she did blame it on Mahiro. So Mahiro, man, catching strays. She can't catch a break. She says perhaps this time is the charm, whatever time it may be. Arisu reflected a little bit on how much her and Arai have grown over 5 years. She said that Arai's presence also helps her continue wrestling, and that she felt very happy that Arai called her the protagonist. Starting with the main event here, Arisu is a star, man. She elevated herself after that Spark Rush tag match at Grand Princess, and here she just cemented that she belongs. She is 1,000% going to be the Princess of Princess champion one day. Arai, too, looked great in her V2 defense. So far, I think she's living up to the very, very lofty expectations of being the champion. But overall, a really great main event. One thing that I kind of got to thinking about, kind of listening to all these post-match comments, they were very emotional. There was a lot of emotion to, everybody, Kamiyu included. But Arisu in particular, I think that there's a lot of story and kayfabe that goes into this idea of wrestlers coming to grips with the enormity of a main event title match. I think that gets built up so much as a part of the narrative. But honestly, in circumstances like this, with an anniversary and both competitors kind of reflecting back on their growth, their journey to this point in time, that has to carry immense weight. Regardless of, the outcome of the match, it's fixed, whatever you want to say, you still have to feel the enormity of that moment. It's nostalgia in a way, right? Nostalgia is one heck of a drug. I just thought that was so interesting to kind of put myself in Arisu's shoes, feeling her emotion, listening to her give these backstage comments, like I say, Arisu will get her time. She's having, you talk about Toga having one heck of a year. Arisu has had one heck of of the last 6 to 8 months. She has been on another level with the Tokyo Princess Cup runner-up, with the International Princess Championship reign, putting on just incredible matches. Sooner or later, mark my words, Arisu Endo, Princess of Princess champion. Overall for the show, very good Korakuen Hall show for TJPW. All 3 of the title matches delivered, all of them worth checking out. Plus we get new champions. The undercard had a number of cameos, which I think always spices things up a bit. And the wrestling really wasn't bad anywhere. This really felt like a show that highlighted the next generation. You have Arisu and Arai in the main event. You have Haru challenging Suzume for the International Princess title. You have really big showings from Sakura, from Toga. Ren even started to grow some of her moveset. As the main event players of old kind of move on, Yuka going to AEW, Yamashita taking a back seat, working with some of the next-gen competitors, Shoko taking a back seat, Mizuki working with the next-gen. The new blood has to step up. The likes of Arai, Arisu, Suzume, we're really starting to see that. And then in turn, the old rookies, quote-unquote, have to move up into the mid-card now. The Togas of the world, Haru, Wakana, Uda, Sakura. Now I think the big thing is just gathering some fresh blood for that dojo to continue the cycle, right? We've got Momosato, but hopefully TJPW can get a few extra trainees in there and start rebuilding the pyramid, if you will. But overall, I have to highly recommend this show. Of course, I have to highly recommend the Wrestle Universe members only show as well. Both of these are on Wrestle Universe. If you have not had a chance to watch either of them, they come with 2 thumbs up from me. So what can we look forward to now with these 2 great shows in the rearview mirror? Well, we have a couple of homecoming shows upcoming. We have another Shinjuku Face show upcoming. Of course, eventually we'll make our way back to Korakuen Hall in early June. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, don't want to put the cart before the horse, we're going to preview an event, technically, that already took place on Wednesday, May 6th, Back to the Hive, Suzume's homecoming show. This one went down from the Tsukuba International Congress Center Multi-Purpose Hall in Ibaraki. That is the full name of the venue. I did search it on Google Maps. It is a mouthful. Because this one already took place, we don't have the chance to watch it, like I said earlier. This is video on demand. It will be posted on Sunday, May 10th. Mifu Ishida also absent at this one. Again, same scheduling conflicts from the Monday Korakuen Hall Yes Wonderland show. Mifu is like a Japanese cultural ambassador as like a side hustle. So I wonder if she's doing some like promotional work for Golden Week this week. That's the only idea I could have. I'm just speculating, but that's the one thought that kind of comes to my mind. This event will feature 7 matches. Not sure of the match order outside of the main event, so run through the initial 6 and then we'll talk the main event here. We're going to have a 3-way matchup. Raku versus Himawari versus Hyper Misao. Going to have 2 singles contests. The first one, Yuki Aino, 1-on-1 with Shion Kanzaki. The second one, Shoko Nakajima, 1-on-1 with Palm Harajuku. This is going to be interesting. Maybe we'll get another dinosaur costume, perhaps. We'll have 3 tag team contests. Kick Slash will team together once more. They will take on Kira Summer and Wakana Uehara. More Kick Slash. Love that. Less team of Kira Chika. I dislike that. The other tag matches will see Mizuki and Uda Takami teaming up against Chika Nanase and Haru Kazushiro. Look for Mizuki and Uda to get a win here on their road to challenging for those tag titles. And then the last tag matchup, we'll see Yuki Arai and Shino Suzuki on one side. On the other side, Toga and Yuki Kamifuku. This is going to function as our first preview tag for that upcoming Princess of Princess title match. Normally, a match like that would be the main event, but Suzume will be in the main event of her homecoming show. We're going to have a 6-woman tag match. Daisy Monkey, Suzume and Arisu Endo, going to team up with Mahirock Kiryu. They're going to take on our current Princess Tag Champions, Daydream, Miyu Watanabe and Rika Tatsumi. Those 2 are going to team up with Ren Kanatsu. Kind of feels like Ren is clearly taking the pinfall here, but we'll just have to wait for Sunday and watch this one to find out. We're not done quite yet, though, because we do have a couple of graduates we're going to touch on, a couple of new excursions that I want to pencil into our calendars, too. We'll start on the graduate side of things. Just one person we'll talk about today. That is Mirai. In addition to being announced for the upcoming standalone show, Mirai defended her JTO Girls title against Jumbo Inoue. So Mirai continues to hold that JTO Girls title. On the excursions side of things, there was one excursion that took place in the past week. On Tuesday, May 5th, Marvelous celebrated their 10th anniversary by holding a humongous show. They ended up drawing like over 3,000 people, the second highest Joshi wrestling show of the year behind Stardom. They did manage to beat out TJPW's 3,000 attendance figure for Grand Princess, so congratulations to Marvelous on that. We did have some TJPW representation on this show. Miyu Yamashita had a singles contest against Senka Akatsuki. This was a lot of fun. This is the only match that I've had a chance to watch from this show. This show is loaded, though. I'm really excited to go back and watch it once I get the time. Senka, I think, does really well in matches like these, where she has to like climb this insurmountable mountain. We've seen it in her matchups against Aja Kong, that terrific exhibition match against Chris Hero. In this one, Yamashita was taking Senka to school for most of it, but Senka did the Senka thing and refused to stay down, tried to shoot pin her opponent a number of times. Senka also survived a skull kick and stayed standing, showing some fire. She kicked out of an AA and a return crush before she ultimately lost to a second skull kick in 10 minutes and 14 seconds. We did get a couple of extracurriculars too, because after the match was over, Senka refused to shake Yamashita's hand, and they had a pretty heated head-to-head there. I love that Yamashita was able to go on this excursion to this Marvelous show. I don't know why. I'm not complaining about it, but I don't know why Yamashita was booked on this. As far as I know, she doesn't have any real connection to Marvelous or Chigusa Nagayo. The only thing I could think of is TJPW found themselves in a bind for Grand Princess when TNA pulled Lei Ying Lee out of the tag matchup with Sari, and the replacement for that was Takumi Iroha, who is a Marvelous wrestler. So perhaps this is a little bit of like a, hey, we're paying you back for doing us a solid for Grand Princess. You gave us Takumi on short notice. We'll lend you Yamashita for your big 10th anniversary show. I could totally be making all of that up. Maybe that has nothing to do with it, and the companies are just friendly with one another. The only reason I go there is because historically, TJPW does not work outside of certain cyberfight companies or just really with any other Joshi companies, to be quite honest. Of course, Marvelous is now a part of that family, but who knows? It's just a rogue thought that I had. On the horizon, though, we do have that Aja Kong 40th anniversary show that we've been talking about. That one will be on Saturday, May 16th, so just about a week away now. Shoko Nakajima's on that show. Yuki Kamifuku's on that show. This one is loaded. Anyone and everyone's on this show, from TJPW, Stardom, Freelancers, Sendai Girls, AEW, like you name it, they are on this event. A new one that was announced in the past week on Sunday, May 24th, another anniversary show for Mahirock. ChocoPro is going to be holding Apple Universe, the 8th launch. That's her 8th anniversary for Mahirock. It has been announced that both Suzume and Mirai will be participating on that one. Of course, we also have our eyes on the Friday, June 5th show for Eve, number 150, History Makers, Rule Breakers. This is where Miyu Yamashita is getting her international championship matchup against the current champion Chris Statlander. And then brand new one, later on in July, on Sunday, July 26th, Kitsune, an independent promotion here. I think they're mostly based out of Southern California. Kitsune is making their return after a brief hiatus. They actually have two shows. They have a July one and an August one. For the July event, it's called Stay With Me. This is going to be in Los Angeles, California. They've announced that Sayuri Namba will be their MC. And they also said that Sayuri will be making an announcement about their next show, that August 30th show. I might have to go and check that one out since it's just here in my backyard. But that being said, that will bring us to the end of this episode. So grab your cold spray, grab your ice packs. On next week's episode, we'll review Back to the Hive, Suzume's homecoming show. We'll also preview She Knows Her Way. Guess whose homecoming show that is? Shino Suzuki. I hope you enjoyed the show today. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.